Hey, great thinkers. Welcome back to another episode of the Think Great Experience. I'm Eric Thurwanger. I'm your host today, and I am joined by not only a friend, but a champion of the hospitality industry and the founder and CEO of the National Concierge Association, Sara-ann Kasner. Sara-ann, welcome to the Think Great Experience.
Well, this is my very first time doing a podcast, and I'm very excited to do it. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Sara-ann, thank you so much for saving all the other podcasts until you did ours. You know, I have known you for many years. And
Yes.
when we speak about hospitality, when we speak about fellow concierges, you just come to life. You just absolutely light up with excitement about your industry. Can you just tell our audience a little bit about you and the NCA, just how you started the National Concierge Association and what it means to you?
Well, first of all, let me go back to the beginning. When I say that I fell into this, it kind of describes how I got into it because it wasn't intentional on my part exactly, except that throughout my life, and I'm a mother of three sons, and in a former life, I lived on a farm, and I worked for a radio station and did some broadcasting, and
Wow.
I volunteered for everything charitable and worked with the church that I belonged to and so forth. And then through some life-changing experiences, I moved to the metropolitan area um, quite a few years ago. And to make a living, of course, I was in real estate and managed a real estate office and did those things and then burned out,
Mm.
just burned out. But public service of every kind and shape and form has always been a part of my being, if you
Yeah.
will. It just feels like a natural fit to me and always has. And so at some point when I burned out from real estate, I decided to take the summer off, and that lasted about 2 days. I'm also a type A
You
personality,
are
and you know
unstoppable.
exactly what I'm talking
Sara-ann,
about because you are as well.
you are
But
motivated and unstoppable.
right. And so I'm floating around in my pool reading the newspaper, and I stumble into an ad for a corporate concierge. And it's downtown Minneapolis, and I thought, what the heck is a corporate concierge? I mean, I know what hotel concierge did at that point, because my husband and I had traveled all over the place. We've been all over the world together, and so I thought, well, this is intriguing. I'm just going to call it and find out what it is.
Mm.
And I called the number. I'm in my pool splashing around, and gentleman that took the call, his name was Tony Birdsey at the Piper Jaffray Tower downtown Minneapolis. It's now the Campbell Methune Tower, and Tony
Oh,
has since
yep.
moved on. But nevertheless, Tony said on the call, "Are you in the bathtub?" So we were off to a great start. I said, "No, I'm actually in my swimming pool." And he said, "Well, can you come down for an interview?" I said, "Well, I'll have to take a shower and, change my clothes, whatever." He said, "No, just come as you are." I said, "No, not in my bathing suit. Trust me." But anyway, I did go
At
down
least
there.
you were relaxed when you were talking to
Yeah, I mean, it was, we started talking on the phone, and I thought, what a great guy. He's really fun to talk to. And so I got my duds on and went downtown, and I didn't even dress up. I was in a jeans and sweatshirt, tennies. And I thought, they're not going to hire me. I'm way overqualified. They're looking for somebody who's just going to give directions in the tower, and
Sure.
it's not much of a job. Well, I interviewed for it, and he says, "You'd be perfect at this." And I said,
Mm.
"Okay, exactly what is this?"
Yeah, you
I
don't hear
mean,
that
is there a
corporate
job
concierge very often.
description?
Yeah, that's not a phrase you
It's,
hear.
he said, "We have no idea. It's an opportunity for you to be very creative." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "So do you want the job?" I said, "Well, okay, I'll try it." whatever. I thought, what have I got to lose? I don't want to
Yeah.
stay home. I mean, I'm just not the kind that's going to stay home every day and do nothing with my life. Just twiddle my thumbs. My kids were grown, and walking my dog 3 times a day. Even the dog was pleading with me, please find something to
Do
do.
something.
You know? So I took the job, and within about 6 weeks, I realized that outside of my husband and my children, I had fallen in love with an occupation that was wide open for possibilities. I mean, how good is that? How good is
That is
that? I
awesome.
found that people, I mean, I love talking to people, obviously,
Yes, you do.
and talking to people, helping them out. I mean, the request can be, well, let me back up a moment. I mean, the frequent request at that point, I was at a security desk, beautiful security desk, and in an office tower working downtown. I had visitors and residents and every type of person go by that desk. And sooner or later, they all stopped and talked to me. I even ran into celebrities and
Wow.
people that were visiting other people in my tower. And yes, they were asking, how do I get from point A to point Z? That was definitely a part of
Yeah.
it, to know the Skyway in downtown.
Yep.
But most importantly, they were asking me for things like, so corporate concierge, what exactly is that?
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I started making things up. I'd say, well, I can make dinner reservations. I can probably get you tickets to the theater. Planning a vacation, maybe I can help. I've been all over the place. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Before I knew it, I started having a relationship with the tenants of that tower that was, I mean, I was on a first name basis with people that owned the tower. They
Wow.
owned buildings downtown, and they had owned companies, as well as the janitor staff. And like I said, everything from A to Z. And those people said, well, can you do this?
You were
I
creating the position as you were filling it.
Yeah, I mean, within about 6 weeks, I had neighboring towers that came over and spoke to the management and said, wow, she's great, and this is wonderful service. And I've been hearing from my associates in your tower that they have this fabulous service going on in your tower. How can we get this for our tower?
Oh, wow.
And so I became the first corporate concierge in downtown Minneapolis. Like I said, just by accident, I just took a job. And by the way, when I took that job, um, the pay was ridiculously low. I was earning in real estate, I was earning a really good salary in
Yeah.
combination with my husband, who was also earning good salary. So we were, doing things like buying a house, taking fancy
Sure.
vacations. All of a sudden, I'm working for a fraction of the cost, and I'm just having a ball.
But your glass was 100% full.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just phenomenal how much I loved it. I'd come home every night and I'd say, "Okay, so today, I met," and fill in the blanks. Today I did this thing, and gee, I didn't know I could do that, and gee, I didn't know that was there. I mean, I'm lived in Minnesota for years and years and years, and thought I had been everywhere and seen everything.
But how great is that to be coming home, not complaining about work, but actually wanting to share more about it, just on the experiences you were having and the impact you were making on people.
Oh, and yet today, the the thing about the service industry and the hospitality industry, I think, for those of us who experience what I've experienced, because I'm not unique. I'm absolutely not unique. Everybody I know in the industry feels the way I do. They take a job and they go, well, I'm gainfully employed. Isn't this special?
Yeah.
And then they get into it and they realize how very special they are
Yeah.
in this industry. It's a gift, but it's a talent, and I think it's heaven sent.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
honestly do. I think we're born, not made. That's what I think.
it's a calling for sure, and you have the
Yes.
calling. You know, what's interesting is I ran a media company in Southern California, and we had initially what we called a receptionist, so somebody who greeted our clients at the door, and it was a growing media company, and we eventually enhanced that position where that person was our concierge. We
Sure.
referred to her as a concierge, and it took on a whole different life. Once somebody started thinking of themselves as a concierge, it was part of our whole culture. It was part of our experience, and to a certain extent, everybody's a concierge in their organization. You know, they're there to help impact people once you embrace that. But most people can't even define the word concierge. It's just a fun one to say, but they don't really know what it means. I mean, you took a job, you didn't even know what a corporate concierge was, and then you fell in love with it. I think
Well,
people need to embrace the inner concierge.
the official definition of concierge is keeper of the keys. That's why you see on, like the pin that I'm wearing, that you
Yes.
can't probably see that on your podcast, but they it has a key on it, because that's what we are. We are the keeper of the keys. The concierge profession, Eric, goes back um, probably now a couple hundred years. Goes back to the time of royalty, and
Yeah.
having the concierge, the French word meaning keeper of the keys, and that's exactly what they did. They took care of all their VIP um, special needs, whether it was a blanket or more logs on the fire. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I know that as it evolved and hotels got wind of how great this service was, at some point about 35 years ago, corporate America also got wind of how the tenants in their corporate buildings, whether it was high end residential, it was Class A office towers, um, or academic setting,
Yeah.
they understood that the level of service, that the personal touch represented by the concierge, was definitely valuable to busy people,
Oh,
because everybody's
absolutely.
working, everybody's
Yeah.
busy. I've had gentlemen call me and say, it's my anniversary today. And I'm like, and I have to say, you guys are good at this one. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, today is my anniversary. And
We
can
do
you
need
help?
help. We need help with that, Sara-ann. Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
yeah, can you help?
So
Uh,
how long were you the corporate concierge there?
well, I was downtown Minneapolis for almost 30 years. And I ended up with 5 buildings in the Twin City area. And then I also supervised a couple of buildings in Chicago for a time. And I ended up with a client base of about 10,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, I
All for a
really,
all for a job that you almost didn't have because you were in your pool.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you didn't even really know what one was. How that is a calling right there.
Well, it is, you know, it is a calling.
So at what point during the concierge journey did you say, we need an association?
Well, to be sure, once I realized that my tenants in the Piper Jaffray Tower, when
Yeah.
I realized that they were traveling across the country and I could be helpful there too,
Oh,
I needed people throughout the Twin Cities. I mean, you can't be in 2 places at one time.
right.
And part of being a concierge is knowing where things are, how things work, what's there when you get there, just all the little details that make the concierge profession so special. Um, I needed other people who were like minded. And so I joined an organization in the Twin Cities to begin with that
Mm.
was kind of a hospitality group. They were kind of loosely formed, and then I joined them and said, hey, maybe we should do something like form a concierge association here, because I could get the hotel concierge. And because of my services downtown, I don't want to take too much credit for this, because it was popping up all over the Twin Cities for corporate concierge. And so there were a lot of people like me beginning to do the same type of service. And so I formed the Twin Cities Concierge Association. That was the first thing. Then when I realized that my people were actually traveling across the country and they were having their clients come in, or they were moving into the Twin Cities, they were new to the company, they needed help in all different directions. Um, I started reaching out to corporate concierge in other cities because it started to take off across the country. The
But here in the
corporate
Twin
concierge.
Cities, you
Yeah,
launched the first association
exactly.
that centralized concierge. So
Right. And
they
so when
could.
I realized that, then I said, hey, how about we meet in Minneapolis and just network with each other? And to my surprise, I had 65 concierge show up on my doorstep on a
Wow.
summer weekend. And, we formed the National Concierge Association shortly after.
Oh, that's so fantastic. And now you have chapters throughout the
Yeah, well,
country.
we do. We have 5 chapters throughout the United States. We have a new one forming in Philadelphia, by the way.
So
Yeah, that's
awesome.
almost on board. We're very pleased with that progress. But we also have members in not just the corporate world, but the hotel, academic, retail, residential, high-end residential, private clubs, and one of the fastest growing parts of our industry is the medical world has concierge
I can see
services.
that. They need that.
And we're throughout the United States. We have members as far away as Australia, and we just got a new group membership from Barcelona.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so
You know,
we're
you have
international.
you have chapters throughout the United States. You have a board that is incredible because I've had the opportunity to meet with you and your board in Philadelphia. Ironically, that was my last trip before the pandemic.
Yes,
The
ours as
last,
well.
yeah, the last
Yeah,
flight I took was to Philly and back, and
yeah.
then the pandemic hit and everything got postponed. Is the official word. So let me ask you this: as the CEO, as the founder, you're the voice of the company, of the organization. You're the voice of the association. Um, to you, what's the greatest part of your role now? Now that it's expanded so much, what do you enjoy the most?
What I really uh, enjoy is, I hope, inspiring and engaging leaders for our
Yeah.
growth. I really like working with the leadership of our organization, and I count just about everybody that belongs to the NCA in that group, because I think that that's the future for all of us, is to
Yeah.
take a leadership role, really be engaged in our organization, and see what we can do now to kind of recreate the organization. That's the biggest role that I see right now, is
Mm.
helping our organization. Now that we've come through the pandemic, we've been through highs and lows in our hospitality industry, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
We've been around now for 23 years, and I think that we have uh, every opportunity to recreate ourselves. And I think that's the secret to it all.
I know since you've been through our 12-month leadership program, the
I
leadership lab,
have.
um, you had so many eye-opening moments in there and you shared so much amazing information. How important has leadership been, the development of yourself as a leader and others through the pandemic?
One of the things that you said, that when I sat down for our very first class in leadership, Eric, was that nobody is really a born leader. And and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, or that I
Oh, you're on the
remembered
right,
it
you're
wrong,
on the right
but you
path.
said nobody is a born leader. And I'm being the CEO and founder of an organization. You tend to believe your press after a while. You tend to believe that you know what you're talking about.
That's right.
And then I sat down for your class and I realized that I have a lot to learn. And I think that that's the thing about the leadership class that really struck me, really grabbed me, was that I have a lot to learn. And anytime that you can engage Sara-ann Kasner, it's kind of a tough job, because anybody that knows me knows I have agenda. And I,
Yes.
I rarely come into a conversation without one.
Hmm.
And so, believing that I know what it means to be a leader was something I came into your classes and then very shortly realized I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
But one of the great traits of leaders is to be open, and you're very open, you're transparent, and you sat there and took notes with a table of other leaders from other industries, that peer-to-peer discussion that we had. And you really found ways to become a better leader each month that we met, and you took it back to the NCA. And I think that was what was fantastic. And you're right. In my opinion, there are no boring leaders. I know when I showed up, I may be a leadership coach right now, leadership programs, written a leadership book. When I was born, the doctor didn't look at my mom and dad and say, "Hey, we got a leader here." I mean, these were all learned traits and principles and behaviors, but you have to be open to learning it. And I think that's why the NCA is so fortunate to have you as their leader, because you're open to learning new things. And we all need to do that in this post-pandemic world now that we're in this transition phase. But also you're planting leadership seeds in every one of your leaders and team members. I mean, it's contagious when you start to build leaders.
Well, you've been very helpful to the NCA, and I have to thank you publicly for that, Eric, because you have been integral in helping us launch a leadership program. And to me, when we call it a leadership program, it sounds almost forbidding, and I don't really like the term, but for want of a better term, that's what we're calling it. What I really see is that it's a mindset.
Yep.
It just is a mindset. And if you can get people to think in those terms, that I'm a leader, I,
That's
c-
right.
I can help others do this, whatever this is. And again, our industry is so fraught with possibilities. I
Yes.
think the sky's the limit.
I think what you've done is by introducing leadership to the concierge world, you're really allowing them to do more of what they already love to do, which is the people side of the business.
Right.
For me, leadership is the people side of the business. No matter what industry we're in the people business when we take on a leadership purpose. And concierges in general, they love people. I mean, that's why they're doing what they do. So when they start to think of themselves as leaders, I believe they really enhance the experience for that end user every single time. I mean, we really need to have that concierge mindset, which involves leadership.
Yes, it very much involves leadership. It's all about using the creative side of you, and everybody has that. Everybody
Right.
has that. It's different for everyone, that's for sure. All of your life experiences and all of the things that you do, your interests, everything
Yeah,
that you like to do with your home, your family, as well as career wise, all of it is about having a passion
that's right.
for being of service, just
Yeah.
flat out being of service. You know, uh, there is so often you run into people that don't quite get that. When you may go to a retail setting, or you might go, somewhere where someone is supposed to be of service,
They lose that focus.
and they lose that focus, and it's very obvious.
You
Whereas
you feel it
honestly,
immediately.
concierge really never do. They never do. They live and breathe it.
You know, what I love about you, and I have since the first day I met you, is that everyone that is around you is a priority to you. You love people, and you love the people in your organization. And from my
Yeah, that I
opinion,
do.
you pretty much do anything for them. I know I can't tell you how many Saturday breakfasts we've had with Pat to talk about the NCA and leadership and helping them all to develop and grow. And I can only think that when the pandemic hit, and I know some industries were hit harder than others, and the hospitality
Oh,
industry got hit a number of times. What was it like for you when you started to realize the severity of the pandemic in the hospitality industry? And how did you help guide people through that? What were you saying to them as a CEO, as the founder of the NCA when everything seemed so dark?
Well, Eric, it's like anything else that happens to you in life. I mean, the pandemic, as awful as it was, isn't the worst thing that ever happened in my life. And I don't want to go into all that this morning, but
I agree.
honestly, you have hills and you have valleys. That's the way I kind of look at things.
Yeah.
The pandemic for me was it was a call to action.
Mm,
It was
that's
a call
powerful.
to action, and thankfully, I'm not alone. You speak of Pat. Pat Bringman is our national president. As long as we're going to refer to her, I want to introduce her correctly. Um, Pat is a great gal. She's been with the Minneapolis Club as concierge manager for 36 years.
She's awesome.
Talk about loving and being passionate
Yeah.
about your profession. I mean, there's a lady that everybody loves her. She's just terrific in her role at the Minneapolis Club. It was a call to action for her as well. And she's our national president. And with that, the executive board, everybody on that executive board, I could name each one of them. It was a call to action for them.
Yeah.
How can we help our industry? That was our first
Mm,
question. What can we do? So we established little things that mean a lot, like a job listing tab on our website. Okay, if there's jobs
yeah.
in the industry, okay. We relaxed our rules so that we understood that people that have lost their jobs or their jobs have changed or something, we're not saying now that you're not no longer a titled concierge, you can't be with us
Right.
anymore. We
Right.
carried all of our members that needed us to carry them. That was the
I
first thing that
remember.
we said.
Yep.
We couldn't travel and see each other, something we love to do. Of course, you know that because you've been with us, how much we love to be together. But we found new ways to do that through Zoom calls. And yes, everybody's getting tired of it, but we had stayed in touch with our members. I had whole chapters that volunteered to call other members that visited other chapters through the Zoom calls. They have reached out to each other. They've been helping each other. For instance, Yolanda Nelson, who's an expert in everything that's technology. She
Yes, she is.
she owns, by the way, the Manor, Nelson Manor. I think I'm saying that wrong in Washington D.C. I'm
Oh,
giving her a little plug. She's also
yeah.
on the board of directors of the
Yes, she is.
NCA Washington D.C. chapter. Great, friendly gal. She is speaking at the Arizona chapter meeting this month through Zoom, just reaching out, doing what we can for each
Yeah.
other along the way. We've been there every step of the way. Sometimes 2 and 3 times a month get-togethers on Zoom, just to stay in touch, just to let everybody knows we care, just to keep alive our industry.
Yeah. I think that constant personal communication has been so critical, and everyone at NCA has jumped in, and people have had different levels of fear or uncertainty or
Oh,
perceptions, and it's just been great that you and your leaders have been there to help guide them. Because I know, and it was more than just helping them with their membership dues. It was helping them as people to guide themselves through this. I mean, the hospitality industry, we work with many clients in that industry, and they got punched. They got knocked down a lot. And every time a new restriction came out, some of them felt like it was just about them. So,
well, yes, we get, because concierge, when we go to our monthly meetings, for instance, our chapter meetings are always held in venues throughout whatever city we represent. And
yeah,
it's we regard everything from the venue itself as an educational experience, because I might have a client that needs to hold a meeting there or visit that restaurant, or that meeting space, maybe it's a part of the city I haven't been to for a while, and so I need to learn more about that. But also, it's one-on-one networking with
yeah.
others in our industry that might be able to share some ideas for something, that a project that I'm doing, or just have information that I need and hear about the community. when that is absent, it takes a piece of what we're doing away. Now, most of us that are in the industry have stayed in the industry in one form or another throughout this pandemic, and it has gone on an unfortunate length of time.
Yeah.
But others, in, for instance, the Arizona chapter, 90% of their concierge members were laid off or furloughed or immediately lost their jobs
Yeah.
completely at the onset of the pandemic.
I mean, it's
Really, really, you talk about a punch.
and just that feeling of hopelessness, and there was no end in sight. And for you, for your leaders, for the NCA as a whole, to be there for them as that guiding light. And I really look at you, your leaders, and the organization as a beacon of hope right now. And now you
Well,
already have goals of expansion as you're coming out of this. I mean, you truly are unstoppable and passionate.
I certainly hope we are. Yes.
Well, the first time I met you, I was invited to speak briefly on goal setting at an NCA meeting in the Twin Cities. And then we met.
I remember.
Yeah, we met. And then we talked a little bit about connecting in Chicago. And I
Yes.
went out to my first event in Chicago and I was blown away. And first of all, you want the National Concierge Association, anybody associated, affiliated with your events, because that was one of the most fun events I've ever been to in my life. And my oldest son, Brandon, joined me there.
I
And
remember.
I remember I did my speech, I was saying hello to everybody. People were super fired up. And Brandon and I had figured out where we were going to go for lunch. And then we're going to drive back to Minneapolis. So we were going to go find some Chicago dog, hot dog place out there. We knew where we were going. And as we were leaving, every member of NCA said, "Hey, join us. We're going to Connie's Pizza in Chicago."
Mhm.
And I said, "Okay, how do I get there?" He said, "No, just get on the bus with us." And we got on the bus. They gave us a round of applause. There was just general enthusiasm. Okay, maybe they liked my speech, or maybe they were just excited about Connie's Pizza, one or the other. But I'll tell you what I felt. I felt like I was part of a family. And you really have created that, and your leaders. And I know that that's a focal point. And it really, what I'm trying to say here is that you have a saying of give them you. That's kind of how you feel. Give them you. And I
Well, let
feel
me
that you do that.
let me just give you the background on that. One
Yeah.
time I was the NCA, and as I said initially, my career as a concierge has been a learning experience.
Yeah.
And being a newscaster, a radio station, I already knew how to talk to the public, and I understood how to do a news program. Although in my past, it was for a very small market radio station in uh, Western Minnesota. I mean, farm reports were a big part of our day, and I don't want to put the farmers down. My youngest son is a farmer. But So you'd think that I had it down pat, the public speaking part.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference in being on the radio and even doing a podcast like this and having a conversation
Yeah.
than doing a news report and trying to get a point across where you really want people to sit up and take notice of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I had a tendency, I'd love to talk. That's obvious to everybody. But I had a tendency to be very long. And I did one speech, unforgivable speech. I think it was the very first time we had a conference, an NCA conference in Chicago. And I did an unforgivably long speech that could have been shortened to about 15 minutes fat. I mean, I could have said it all, but I went on and on and on. And my vice president at the time looked at me and I said, "Well, how did I do?" And he went, "Well, it was long."
Oh,
And so, of course, you feel dejected and, like, "Oh
sure.
my God, nobody
Yeah.
likes me and I'm horrible at this." So I'm home. The next time around I was asked to speak, I started to get asked to talk across the country to my chapters. And most of all, they wanted me to come and just talk from the heart. But I'm preparing for this, and I'm rehearsing.
Yeah.
So I hired a coach in downtown Minneapolis. I hired a coach. She's listening to what I wanted to say, and she said, "Stop." And she said, "Sara-ann, when I talk to you and you talk about the industry," she said, "I find you inspiring and, good to talk to. So here's the deal, you know, give them you."
Hmm.
So every time, and I went, "Give them me, give them me." And then it dawned on me what she was trying to tell me. And, Eric, every time, my husband is one of my biggest fans. I'm married to a man that's very supportive of everything that I do and has encouraged me all along the way. And every time that he's been at a talk, we went to St. Kitts, for instance, or invited by the tourism department in St. Kitts,
Yeah.
and to give a talk to their hospitality group. This is a group of people I've never met before, a rather large group, and I was very nervous.
Yeah.
And as I was to go on and talk, and he took me by the shoulders and he said, "Give them you,
Mm.
give them you." And I did. And I got a lot of thank yous for that. And to me, there's no greater satisfaction in this entire world than knowing that you have inspired someone else to go on and do something great,
Isn't that just awesome?
something with their career. And if what I've done and how I've experienced my career in the 30 plus now years that I've been doing concierge, if talking to people and giving them me will do that, that's what I want to do. And I think that's what you do on the job. That's what you do in an organization. You give them you.
That's right.
Maybe it's not, maybe not everybody agrees with you, and that's okay too. But
You know
giving
what's
them you can't go wrong.
No, I agree. And I know as a speaker, when I first started to share my story or share my message on goal setting or leadership or whatever, I did the same thing. I mapped it all out because I was trying to get it perfect. And the more I could make it about just giving them me, the more they resonated with it. And I know every time, and I'm glad that coach said that to you, because every time I've ever heard you, you give you and you captivate the audience. I mean, you pull them in with your stories on why you have done all this and who you've impacted. And you can hear a pin drop in the room every time you take the stage. And I feel that you've even done that from the leadership standpoint. There was a transformation that happened to you in that leadership class, and we could see it. You could see it in everybody in the class, but you started to take you as a leader to your team. And at first, a lot of people were wondering, why should we develop as leaders? And you started to talk about that impact it had on you, and it came out so genuine and so authentic that as a leadership coach, I'm listening to you share about it, and you moved me. But I think you also touched on giving you in a genuine way helps to overcome. There's so much fakeness out there today. It's really hard for people to find just good, genuine, sincere leaders to follow. Most are scared to lead right now, but there's a lot of fakeness. There's a lot of people who just aren't genuine out there. And so I love that saying. People give me their favorite sayings all the time, but give them you is huge. So thank you for sharing that. And you do it on a very, very deep level. I think that's why people have been with
Thank
you for
you.
so long.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask you, as we're coming out of the great obstacle and we go through this great transition phase to get to this great new era, what are some of the goals for you for NCA? What's up ahead for you?
I don't know. I don't know, and that's just fine with me. The one thing that I have asked all of our groups, all of our chapter leaders, and our executive board for right now, I have flatly said to them, we really have never done this before. We've never really talked about where we're going to be in 5 years. I mean, everything has been by the seat of our pants. We're kind of like, well, here's another opportunity. Now, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
And, or here's a fire, let's put that out.
Yeah.
But I really have given them all a challenge right at the moment and have said, here's what I want. This is what I think we need. But what do you want? What do you think we need? How do you think we are going to look and feel when Sara-ann Kasner decides to go and play with her garden permanently? Because I like to do that too. And preparing for the future, I don't know, our 98-year-old people. I mean, I'm not, but but someday I will be.
Yeah.
The thing is that I just think that more important than laying down hard and fast rules about the future,
Yeah.
it's how you really want to shape it. I see it as almost playing, with that play glue stuff that you can
Oh, the Play-Doh.
Play-Doh, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Play-Doh stuff, that you can mold and shape, and it can be anything because that's what the NCA is. That's how it was started.
Yeah.
It was started to be anything we wanted it to be. And so is the future. It can be anything we want it to be. Our industry has changed now. And
Yes.
the NCA, the National Concierge Association that we had before the pandemic, is not going to be the same as we have now.
It'll be greater.
It'd be greater. It'd be
Right.
absolutely greater because we have such an opportunity to
I agree.
recreate. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've reinvented me. I mean, I'll bet you can say the same.
And especially
And it
during
always has
challenges.
turned out for the better. It's
That's right.
always turned out for the better.
I think it's happening for NCA right now. And I feel that you giving them you teaching them how to be leaders has really prepared them for everything that's about to come, because transitions, I feel, are even harder than the obstacle itself. It can be harder after you've gone through 14 months, like you said, longer than we ever thought, longer than we ever planned for. We tend to stay together during those times. And then after it's over, whether it's combat or cancer or COVID-19, sometimes people fall apart. All the buildup of stress and the emotional and physical toll, you're holding your organization together through the toughest time, which is the transition phase, which is not an easy thing to do.
Well,
So I know they're
it's
not going to let you retire anytime soon. I know that's probably not going to happen. And even when you retire, they're going to have you back as a guest speaker a lot,
you
but you've
know
made
that
such an impact.
you talk about changes in your life, Eric. Um, I know that you and your family have experienced this as well, but I'm a breast cancer survivor,
Yeah.
and I think that that's probably one of the scariest things that anyone can ever say to you. You have cancer,
Yeah.
and along with it comes all now almost incidental, but at the time it was monumental to me. It was losing my hair and the
Yeah.
changes in my body because of
Sure.
the cancer and the treatments and so forth. And at one point, I did lose my hair. My hair used to be long and brown, and to me, the scariest thing was to square my shoulders and stand in front of my NCA group who had not seen me since my diagnosis and treatment. And I had very, very short hair, was just growing out. And I was going to wear a wig. And my son, my oldest son, was here visiting at the time, and I put the wig on, and I was going to get on the plane, and he's to go to the conference, the
Yeah.
NCA conference, and he turned me around. He said, "Mom, take the wig off." I
Mm.
said, "What?" He said, "Take the wig off." I said, "No, I'm really embarrassed at whatever." And he said, "May I?" And he kind of took the wig. It was a nice wig. Paid a lot of
Yeah.
money for it.
Yeah.
Hair was just kind of growing out. He said, "It's beautiful, Mom.
Mm.
You're beautiful. Go
How
for it."
awesome is that?
And so I went to the conference that way, and I thought, okay, here we are, squaring our shoulders.
Takes a lot
I
of courage to
think
do
that
that.
that's where we are with, the only reason I bring this up is I think that's where we are with the NCA right now. Our industry was hit extremely hard. The world has changed.
Yeah.
Even the corporate concierge position in many businesses has changed now because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's time to square our shoulders, take a deep breath, and accept it. Get
And I know
on
that
with it.
goes for everybody through this. You're
Yes.
absolutely right. Um, I know that you and Gina,
Excuse me.
you and Gina have so much in common with your histories of cancer. And, she did the exact same thing. She made a decision not to wear wig. And again, it was a nice wig, but she decided to just be her. And it took a lot of courage to do that. I'm okay with not wearing a wig,
And
but
you
I know
right
for
that
her,
way.
yeah, but I know for her, she had such long, beautiful hair, and then the cancer took that from her too. But I love the idea of just squaring our shoulders, standing up straight, going into this transition phase and this new era with the best attitudes possible. I love
Right.
that. And just
Yeah.
hearing that reinvigorates me because we've all experienced the challenges from the past 14 months. And we've all experienced hardships and frustrations. And not only are you a cancer survivor, but your industry is a pandemic survivor. So, the survivors are very unique breeds because they have a different mindset on things. And you are bringing hope to people. And that's the beauty of you, Sarah. And you're bringing hope to people that are listening right now that may not be in hospitality. They may not be a concierge, but they're listening right now and saying, "Yeah, I need to put my shoulders back too." I guarantee when you said that, people sat up straighter listening to this podcast because I did myself. I'm like, whoa, I was slouching. I gotta put my shoulders back. So you are definitely a constant source of inspiration. And I think that's what's great about you. It's never just about the organization, and associations took a hit during the pandemic too. So not only did the hospitality industry take a hit, an association for the hospitality industry kind of took a double hit, but you believe in giving back, and not just to your team members, but also to your community too. And and why is that so important to you to give back? Because you've achieved so many different levels of greatness, and yet that's such a priority to you, giving back to associations and organizations that help people.
It's simple. The Eric, the simple answer um, is that concierge have a lot of privileges. I mean, we get invited to all the best restaurants. We get invited to theater all the time. We've seen all the plays. We get to do things that mere mortals just aren't privy to. So that's a simple answer. The
Sure.
deeper answer is that in my own life, some things have happened that you can only go one of two ways. I mean, you can lay down and say, I'm beaten, and this isn't this is going to define me for life. Or you can go on to educate and help others live better lives. And so for me, it's a personal philosophy of wanting to reach out and be helpful to my fellow man, if you will. That's, golly, that makes me sound like some kind of hero, and that's not true. For me, it just feels like a good fit,
Yeah.
let's put it that way, to to do things like, for instance, we went down to as an organization, we went down to Memphis for a conference, and one of the things that we made it a point to do is to reach out to St. Jude's, because St. Jude's is there, that's their
Yeah.
headquarters. We visited with them, we toured the hospital with the doctors, we saw the children. As a cancer survivor, and also as a mother, grandmother, great grandmother,
Yeah.
I couldn't help but be touched. I don't think you can go through there without being moved by
Yeah.
those children.
There's no doubt.
So that's a natural fit. From that, we raised, each chapter really took it upon themselves to raise money for St. Jude's. But every year, our chapters do, and right from the start, I've insisted that that's a part of our program. And I know that, it's more than that. You take the Washington, D.C. chapter. Eric, are you aware that some of their members have spent nights on the streets just so that they know what homelessness feels like?
That's
They do that. There's a young lady that's associated with the Washington, D.C. chapter. She's a friend of mine. I love her to death. If you meet her, you're a friend immediately. Her name is Nikki Skurlock. And Nikki, concierge with the Children's National Medical Center. She Nikki did just that. And Nikki has told me that she never passes by a homeless person with, the cup and the money, that she doesn't share money with them. I know a lot of people see that. They think, oh, well, they could get a job or they could do something
yeah.
else. Whatever reason that they're in the circumstances that they're in, we don't really know.
Well, that's
I
right.
mean, not at first glance. You don't really know.
Sure.
But Nikki's one of those people that if she can help you, she will. And if she can
She has
experience
such
what
a
you're experiencing just
yeah,
so she has a greater understanding,
yeah.
she will. She's not alone. The whole
That's right.
chapter is like that. They Everything they do is about giving back to the community. They're so involved with the community. I can't even list all the philanthropic causes that they're participating in at the moment. Um, they have their past president, Tony Curtis, who's on our executive board.
Yeah.
He's our executive vice president of membership.
Awesome guy. Awesome.
Oh, he just built that chapter, and he's has been so influential in them being involved in philanthropic causes. I can't tell you how great they are. Fred Johnson, who's current president, just terrific guy. I mean, they're just absolutely wonderful people. They take the desire to help others, the desire to be of service to a stellar level that is just incredible. It's amazing to see.
You know what I know? I know that when I talk about giving back, Sara-ann Kasner lights up. And you did it. You didn't disappoint. But there's two types of service. There's lip service and there's great service. You actually are just going to talk about it or you're going to do it. And your team is all about great service in and out of the organization. And that's what's so critical. For us at Think Great, we work on giving back too, because it's bigger than just us. And I feel that it recharges our batteries. I mean, I saw you just light up, so I know your battery's charged. But for people listening right now that maybe they're down in the dumps, maybe they're not feeling the enthusiasm and excitement, and maybe the pandemic has just kicked them for 14 months, giving back to people lets you fulfill your greater purpose. And I'm a big fan of that. And we've supported St. Jude's. We've supported all kinds of organizations that do good. There's so many out there. There's no shortage of opportunity to do great service for somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. If somebody's listening right now and this pandemic has been hard on them and they're inspired by you, maybe they put their shoulders back a little bit and now they're ready to step forward. Do you have some advice for somebody that's ready to get some greatness in their life? What would you recommend right now as we're coming out of the pandemic to take those steps towards greatness?
It's hard because the the jobs in the hospitalities anyway are kind of few and far between at the moment. Although it depends on where you are and what part of
Yeah.
the industry. I'm going to say reach out. Just absolutely reach out. The National Concierge Association. We have a website. It's www.ncak.org. Anybody can reach out to me anytime. I'm very good at responding, and I love to be of service, even if it's just information. I have one of the frequent calls I get is, "How do I get into the industry? How do I get a job? What can you tell me about, contacting my clients? What kind of services are available to people? How did you get into this? Whatever. I'm here to talk to people, and that's all about us."
Well, I have a feeling that people are going to be reaching out. I know you inspired people. I feel like I need to put my shoulders back. I need to even have a better approach towards the future. I need to take some steps forward. And, I'm glad that you encourage people to reach out to you, reach out to the organization, because I can speak from experience that NCA is there for people. They are not lip service. They are great service. And I've been around the country with all of you, and you never, ever disappoint. And Sara-ann, you are an
You know,
inspiration.
um, one thing that I wanted to leave with you, you mentioned us being a family. We
Yeah.
pride ourselves on that. Once you join with us, you're part of the family. We care. We just absolutely care about each other. We care about our world deeply, and it shows, I hope.
Well, and I feel like a part of that family since I've been
You
working
are.
with all of you for so
You
long. I do feel
definitely
like
are.
I feel like a part of that family. And I know people listening right now probably want to be a part of that family. I just wanted to say thank you so much. It is always an honor for me to talk to you. You always get my batteries recharged. You did it again today. And I know you inspired our audience around the world to take that step, throw their shoulders back, and have a different approach. And Sara-ann, I just want to tell you how much I care about you and NCA. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you, Eric. This has been a pleasure.
You're awesome. We will talk soon.